I trusted him with everything. My mornings, my secrets, my future. And for 7 years, I thought he was doing the same. But the day I found out the truth, the day I saw what he had been hiding, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled. Because I knew. Karma was already on its way, and it was coming faster than either of us could have imagined. His name was Daniel, and when I met him, I thought he was everything. Tall, confident, the kind of man who walks into a room and somehow makes it feel smaller, like he fills it just by breathing. We met at a wedding. Not ours, obviously. It was my cousin's. He was the groom's best friend. I was the maid of honor. He asked me to dance. I said no 3 times. He waited. And on the 4th time, I said yes. That was my first mistake. We dated for 2 years. Slow at first, then all at once. The way falling feels, like you're floating until you're not. He proposed on a Tuesday, not a holiday, not a special occasion. Just a Tuesday evening at home with pasta on the stove. He got down on one knee in the kitchen, and I said yes before he even finished the sentence. Looking back now, I wish I had waited. I wish I had listened to the part of me that hesitated, but I didn't. We got married 6 months later. The first 2 years were good, genuinely good. We bought a house, got a dog, started talking about kids. He worked long hours. He was a project manager at a construction firm. Deadlines, late nights, weekend calls. I understood. I was patient. I was proud of him. I used to tell my friends, he works so hard for us. I believed that. With everything in me, I believed that. But somewhere around year 3, things started to shift. Small things at first. He'd come home later than usual. He'd leave the room to take phone calls. He started going to the gym. At 10 p.m., I noticed. Of course I noticed. But every time I brought it up, he had an answer. A smooth, calm, rehearsed answer. And I wanted to believe him. So I did. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had just come home early from work. My boss had sent us home. Office pipe had burst. The house was quiet. His car wasn't in the driveway. I went to make tea, and that's when I saw it. His phone, on the kitchen counter, unlocked. I wasn't going to look. I promise I wasn't going to, but the screen lit up, and the name I saw stopped my heart. Melissa. I stood there for what felt like an hour. It was probably 30 seconds. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking. And what I found wasn't just a message. It was years. Years of conversations, photos, promises. He had been telling her he loved her since before we even got engaged. Before we got engaged. That means he proposed to me while he was already in love with someone else. He married me while he was in love with someone else. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. I made my tea. I sat down, and I cried for exactly 20 minutes. Then I stopped, because crying was not going to be enough. I didn't confront him that night. I know, everyone always says, I would have lost it. But I didn't. I had a plan, or at least, the beginning of one. I called my sister. I called my lawyer. Yes, my lawyer, because I had one, from when my dad passed and left me some property. And I started to document everything. For 3 weeks, I said nothing. I smiled at dinner. I asked about his day. I laughed at his jokes. And every night, when he fell asleep, I was building a case, because I knew something he didn't. The house we lived in? My name was on it first. My inheritance had paid the down payment. He thought he'd walk away with half. He thought wrong. Here's where it gets interesting. I had a date set. I was going to serve him papers on a Saturday morning. Clean, quiet, done. But karma didn't wait for my schedule. It was a Friday evening. He came home earlier than usual. His face was pale. He sat down across from me at the kitchen table and he said, "I need to tell you something." I looked at him, calm. He said, "I've been seeing someone else." He said it like it was a confession that would break me, like I would shatter. I didn't even flinch. I said, "I know." His face dropped. I slid the folder across the table. 3 weeks of evidence? The lawyer's card was on top. I said, "I've known for 23 days. The papers are already drafted. The house stays with me. And Melissa," I paused, "you should know. She's been talking to 2 other men the entire time. I thought you deserved to know." I don't know if that last part was kind or cruel. Maybe both. He sat there, silent, completely undone. And I stood up, took my tea, and walked to the bedroom. I slept better that night than I had in years. The divorce took 4 months. He tried to fight it. His lawyer pushed back on the house. Mine pushed harder. I kept the house. I kept the dog. And I kept my dignity, which honestly was the most important thing. Daniel moved in with Melissa for about 3 weeks. And then she left him for one of the other men she'd been talking to. He called me once after that. Just once. I didn't answer. Not out of anger, not out of revenge. I just didn't have anything left to say. Some doors close, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for not opening them again. I won't tell you it didn't hurt. It did. For a long time it did. But here's what I know now. Trust your instincts. That feeling you push down because you want to believe someone, that feeling is usually right. And karma isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it arrives in the shape of a folder on a kitchen table, and a woman who was done waiting to be chosen. I'm not a victim of that story. I'm the one who walked out of it. And if you're sitting there right now, questioning something in your own life, that question is trying to tell you something. Listen to it. This has been True Echo Stories. If this hit close to home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe, because the next story, it's even harder to believe it actually happened.